here. Hey everybody, welcome back to the All Aboard podcast by All Things Trains. I'm your host, Phil Bell, PB Chris, Mr. 645. Look, I know it has been a long time since we've been podcasting. I had to buy some new equipment, and quite frankly, I was tired of YouTube not showing you this show because I know how much you love this program. So we're making some changes. Next month, we're going to have our new website up, and I'm even more excited about the 2026 All Things Trains Railroad Calendar. We will have a link in the description of this video where you can pre-order for only $15. If you pre-order, it's $15. If you get it after they're available, the first week of September, it's going all the way up to $20. So you want to get it right now. But I want to do something special today. That's why we have the incredibly beautiful, the amazing, our best friend here, Nancy Neeson from Delaware Dolls. And for those who don't know, whenever things are going well on this podcast, that's because Nancy is behind the camera and making everything work. And Nancy, in addition to being an amazing producer, she loves Barbie. She is the owner of Delaware Dolls. She is a lifelong doll collector, and I wanted to have her on, not only for you to hear from her, but so you can see how similar we all are in terms of what we collect and how we enjoy our hobbies. So Nancy, welcome back to the All Aboard podcast.
Thanks so much, Phil, for having me on. It really is an honor. I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you. See, you're not the only one out there who's watching, right? We've got fans. So we're here at the Greenberg's Train and Toy Show.
Yes.
Tell us what brings you here, and tell us how you got your start in being a Barbie devotee.
Well, actually, I want to remind everybody in the DMV that the Greenberg Train and Toy Show, it is not just a train show. Most people forget the toy component of it. We've got lots of toys here. We've got much more than trains. We have, they've got books, children's books. We have clothing. We have books on trains.
Yep.
We have pictures, memorabilia, vintage toys.
Paintings.
Yes, paintings, and the toy trains, other toys, lots of Beanie Babies. I mean, you name it, it's here. So you can come down and see things that you haven't seen in years. Also some new inventory as well. So it's not just a train show, it's an everything show for the collector. There's just something for everybody here. So I would encourage you to visit the Dallas Expo this weekend for the Greenberg Toy and Train Show.
And so we're here 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. today, which is Saturday, August 16th. We'll be back tomorrow, Sunday, August 17th, also from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So stop by. We've got Delaware Dolls right here to our right. We've got to our left our good friend Mike Allen, who we previewed during the, interviewed during the first season of this podcast. He's got some really neat stuff too, whether it's timetables from New Jersey Transit, Conrail, New York Susquehanna and Western. Great books, a little bit of everything. So just like Nancy said, if you collect, come to the Greenberg Train and Toy Show. You will not be disappointed.
Exactly,
it's worth the time and the money. So
bring the kids.
Yeah, oh, definitely bring the kids. They're going to love it. So
bring the kids, call the neighbors.
Unless you don't like the neighbors, all right? Unless you don't like the neighbors. If you don't like them, then call them twice, all right? See, there you go. So tell me, you love Barbie.
I do. Barbie is my life.
So where did it start?
Well, it started back in 1969. And at that point, Barbie was 10 years old by then because she originated in 1959. And in 1969, I was 3 years old. I'm not ashamed to tell you. And I was far too young to play with Barbie. But yet, I was very well aware of Barbie because my cousin had a beautiful collection. She had everything Barbie. And she was much older than me. Well, she was like 6 or 7 years older than me. So I used to play with her Barbies, and I just fell in love with Barbie. But I was only 3 years old. Barbies at that time were considered kind of expensive. You know,
Really?
$4.99 for a Barbie? Who's going to pay that?
Now, what would that be? Not a real number, but what do you think that would be equivalent to now?
You know, that's a great question. And Barbies sell for $30 now. Even the
Okay.
play lines at Walmart are $30.
And is that the lowest? I should say
that's-
lowest, but like the entry
You
level.
probably,
Okay.
you might be lucky and get one for $20, but they're about $30 now, and that's not even for the quality Barbies. We have adult collector Barbies, and of course they go through the stratosphere. But yeah, $30 for a Barbie, which I would be hesitant to pay, you know, for a lot of them.
So for a 3-year-old, if you would, that's why your parents were kind of
Yes.
like, I don't know.
My parents were, hey, look, you're 3 years old, you're not going to be able to. And Barbies were much higher quality for children at that time. Very high quality considered at that time, 69. So you invested in a Barbie as a toy and had to take care of it.
So now, how did you separate your parents' money, you know, from them to get your Barbie? Because you've shown, yeah, man, that's a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, you know, at 3 years old, I was still struggling with how would you say it, Phil? I was still struggling.
Certain activity, right? A certain activity.
I was probably having some accidents that were, you know, hey, kids struggle, you know, they have their, so, you know, I was just too busy to make a visit to the restroom. I was too busy. I had other important
That's
things
fair.
to do.
You're a kid, you got a lot. Yeah, I don't have time for that, yeah.
Mom will clean me up later. So that was one of the arguments that they used. You know, 3 years old, you can't, you have trouble visiting the bathroom, and so we just can't get you a Barbie. Now, if you were able to visit the restroom on a more regular basis or when you needed to, we could negotiate for that Barbie.
Okay, so that.
So I wanted a Barbie so badly, and I remember it. Even at 3 years old, I remember it. That was a pretty powerful incentive to meet this challenge, to meet their demands, and as a reward, I would receive a Barbie for Christmas. So I can even remember, you know, I'm sitting there playing, and I'm like, you know, it's too much trouble to get up and walk all the way around the house. And then I thought, Barbie doll.
And I'm
Okay,
getting up and I'm going.
I'm getting up, tore across that house, and my mother said, what are you doing? Where are you going? I said, I sure want that Barbie doll. And we talked about that for years in my family. That's what got me over the hump. So I joke with people, Phil's heard it before, if it weren't for Barbie, I'd still be in diapers.
So, and you have a picture of getting that first Barbie at
Yes,
Christmas. So
Christmas morning, 1969.
Wow,
yes.
very
Yeah,
cool.
and that was, I think that was a very happy moment for my parents as well, that I felt so much joy at receiving that Barbie.
So think about this, 1969, what are the three big things that happened? Number one, the biggest, the Mets won the World Series. That's the biggest.
The Miracle Mets, yes.
And then number two, you had the moon landing.
Moon landing.
And then most
If you believe in that sort of thing.
Right,
No,
yeah,
I'm
there
just
you go.
kidding.
And see, that's the one conspiracy theory. You all know I love my conspiracy theories, but that's the one conspiracy theory I am not willing to believe
Right,
in
yeah.
because I love the idea of going to the moon so much. You know, it was
Yes.
great. But then, of course, you got your first Barbie, and that was the beginning of a lifelong of collecting.
Passion for collecting and for Barbie, yes.
So after that, how would you, so obviously you convinced your parents, but how did you find out about different Barbies? Was there like a magazine? Was there collecting back then? Was there an infrastructure?
Well, you know, I really feel sorry for kids today that are growing up without, we have the internet now, we have Amazon, but I feel sorry for kids who had never experienced the Sears Christmas catalog. That was our Amazon. That was our internet back then, and that's where we found out about all the new toys that were coming out, all of the Barbies. They had the JCPenney catalog, they had the Montgomery Ward catalog, and we waited for those issues to come out for Christmas so we could take a look at the new toys for that year. And that's where we got our first look at the Mattel line and the trains in those, all of the toys in the Sears, Montgomery Ward, JCPenney. Who else was, I think those are the big ones that produced catalogs back in the day.
The regional stores too, right?
Right,
So
they had some mini catalogs as well. I can't, those were just the three in our region that had the toys. And they sometimes came out with a separate toy catalog as well. If you were lucky, you could get a separate toy catalog with just toys. And I think Sears and JCPenney's might have done that a couple years. But I still have some of those catalogs. My parents kept them because I pored over them. I spent hours just looking at those catalogs. Kept me busy as a kid.
That's really cool. And for those who aren't aware, Sears, obviously one of the largest retailers in American history. As you said, it was Amazon long before there was Amazon. And of course you had Montgomery Ward, or Monkey Ward, as all of the older generation used to call it. And we were talking earlier about how Sears would sell you a house. You could buy a whole house.
That's right.
Not just the stuff you put in the house, but you could buy a house. Sometimes it would be delivered by train, other times it would be delivered by truck. So, and a lot of those houses are still around if you know what to look for.
Yep, they absolutely are. My uncle built one, actually.
Really?
Yes, he bought one out of a catalog and he built it himself. He put it together. Lots of fun stories about that one.
Yeah,
he was not a builder. He was not a...
See, I'm glad that's not done anymore, because if it was me, I can guarantee you it would look like, I mean, after a lot of work on it, it would probably get to where, you know, the walls were at least square enough that everything wouldn't fall down, but it would have like 3 rooms. There'd be a bathroom, there'd be a kitchen, and there'd be a train room, and it wouldn't look anything like the design it's supposed to. It'd just be enough space for enough trains, that's it. You know,
yeah, exactly.
You'd call it the hoarding room, but... So tell us about your Barbie collection today. What are the highlights?
Well, I collect from, of course, vintage Barbie dolls from 1959 to basically 1977, which was when I was forced to stop playing with Barbies. Well, maybe 1978. I was forced to abandon that.
Now, who forced you to do that?
Well, there's a social stigma, you know. There's you can't play with Barbies after a certain age, but here I am almost 60 years old and I'm still playing with Barbies, so I got the last laugh on that.
Now see, I'm glad you mentioned that. So one of the things that we all, I think, deal with if you collect or you're an enthusiast of something is someone tries to attach a stigma to it. Now I'm not talking about weirdo, you know, like dark web type stuff. That's a whole different ballgame. But, you know, you got a lot of people, like I have one friend who loves Disney, you who love Barbies, I love trains, you name it. Well, you may hear a lot of that, oh, that's weird, no. Don't let them do that to you. You're talking about people who sit around and watch the damn Kardashians all day are going to try to tell you that you're weird because you like Barbies or I like trains. Just politely tell those people to go back to watching their dumb TV shows.
Or gaming.
Shows. Or what?
The gaming.
Gaming's another great
Video
example.
Games, yeah.
Tell them to go back to doing whatever loser activity they're doing and leave you alone. Do not put up with that negativity in your lives. And I say it kind of flippantly, but you know, I spent years listening to family and friends say, oh, no, you don't, people don't want to hear about that. They don't want to hear about that. And I would sit here and listen over and over again to them talk about their day at work. And like, I don't work where you work.
Right.
I don't know these people. I don't care.
Right.
But, you know, but you politely do it because so you'd expect the same thing. But like I said, don't let it get you down. So.
Well, along those lines, if I could just interrupt, as based on, because of your hobby of collecting trains, and my hobby, collecting Barbies, what we have learned just from the hobby. As a result, I've been incentivized, or I've been motivated to learn so many different things. I make Barbie clothes, so I've learned to sew. I hated the sewing machine when I was in middle school. I was terrified of it. But because I wanted to make Barbie clothes, I wanted to make the beautiful designer clothes that you pay now hundreds of dollars for, I learned how to sew. I'm still learning, and I'm having a great time. So that is how it's a learning. And toys are all about learning. Play is all about learning. But as a result of Barbie, I have picked up a circular saw. I know how to make the structures and to build the houses, build furniture that I can sell at the Barbie shows that I attend, using the drill. What else? The other thing I got? I forgot, but all the tools, all the power tools.
You gave me a Ryobi so I could use that on some of my model train projects. So
exactly, and that's the point. You're reconstructing some of the old trains that you have and rebuilding them. That's learning, and that's a great hobby to have because it keeps us busy, it keeps us engaged, and it's a result of our hobby. So it's a wonderful learning toy for children, a learning device for children, and never discourage that in your kids when they can build upon it, because I've learned so much as a result of this hobby.
And I think keeps the mind limber as adults.
Absolutely.
Because all this stuff that we do is just so easy to become very myopic and, oh, I've got to go to work and do this and come home. Well, then your brain stops growing. You start wondering, well, what am I doing? How am I having fun?
Right.
How am I able to relax? And this is very much that.
Can't wait to get up in the morning and build and create something, as you say.
Yeah. Create
something. That's what life is all about. So if it's Barbie or if it's trains, Legos, whatever, don't be afraid to do it and dive right into it.
And just so you know, Nancy's not been told this, but she is going to be drafted to help me create the scenery on my... Hey, there you are. Okay, all right.
Happy to do it. Happy to do
Thank you.
And we can build really cool things with my Ryobi.
Yeah. So I actually, just as an aside, I have a plan, and I'm curious what you guys think of this. I want to build the scenery first, and then build the tracks into it.
Wow, okay.
Because if you think about it, the Earth was here first, and then we built trains on it, right? We built rail lines to go serve different parts of our countries and so forth. So rather than just having a bunch of track, if you have it as part of the scenery and different things, like maybe you put a mill here, or you might put a city there or otherwise, then it will be a little bit more interesting because you'll serve something as opposed to it just being there for the train.
Exactly, yes. And that was the entertainment junction that provided so much entertainment for people because of the small scale scenery.
Yeah.
That was part of the interesting thing for people who were not interested primarily in trains.
Yeah.
And
Entertainment Junction, it was a tourist attraction in Westchester, Ohio, right outside of Cincinnati, owned by a great guy, Don Aders, who did an amazing job building with a lot of volunteers and a lot of great people from the community, an amazing G-scale layout that filled an entire building. And while it's closed down since then, it's actually been moved, the layout, down to Chattanooga, Tennessee by Craig Fuller, who is the new owner of Trains Magazine and Model Railroader, and a lot of the really good titles. Actually, you know what? I've got Trains Magazine right here. This is obligatory if you're a rail enthusiast to have that in some form. Who's actually going to reconstruct it as part of a transportation museum. So look out for that, and we'll talk more about that here on the All Aboard podcast. But we were out there last year for a doll show.
Yes.
So we got to see the trains, we got to see the doll show, and you had a lot of fun there, right?
Oh, I loved it. Formerly, unfortunately, it's no more, but the Queen City Barbie Doll Club held their shows there at the entertainment. center. Unfortunately, as you said, Don has shuttered the facility, but it was an absolutely wonderful experience to visit. Nothing like it in the country, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely not. And by the way, Mike, our buddy Mike Allen and I, we had a fun time because we said we're not going in. We're going to watch this doll show from the outside, and you saw them all line up.
I was in line, right at the crack of dawn, had to be there, because you got to be first, because if you're not first, you're last at the Barbie shows.
And we watched as the door was opened, and it was like a blitz on a football field. They were just blitzing that no, I'm kidding. But it was really neat. I actually did go in. I got some paper dolls of George H.W. Bush and his family because I had to hoard something.
You had to hoard something.
I did, and I also managed to find a, let's see, I think it was NJ Brass, HO scale FP45. And when Nancy and everybody else heard all of the things I wanted to change about it, they were looking at me like I was crazy. Like, are you actually going to have a locomotive after you do every little possible detail? I'm not sure I'm going to get to every possible detail, but you know how it is. You want it to look as real as possible.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about this. What is Barbie's background? Because you said it started in, was it 58, 59 here,
1959,
right?
Yes.
But,
Ruth Handler.
But inspired by Germany.
It was inspired by a German doll by the name of Bill Lilly, I believe. And it has some dubious origins because apparently Bill Lilly is modeled after a lady of the evening, so there's some controversy there.
Okay. So Ken, we have to wonder what Ken has been up to. No, I'm kidding. So that happened. Ruth Handler, she brings the idea to the United States, but obviously not with the negative connotation. Positive,
Exactly. And Ruth Handler had a daughter at the time, and her name was Barbara, and she loved playing with paper dolls. And Ruth said, well, you're playing with these paper dolls. Kids love paper dolls with the fashions, and they're adults, figures of adults. But there's nothing tangible. There's not a 3D figure of an adult that little girls at the time could dress and play with. And that's where she came up with the idea of a doll that resembled an adult that children could dress and play with and have structures and cars and things like that. So that's where the idea was born, and really a brilliant idea, because little girls look up to adults. They will become adults at one point. So it was a great teaching tool as well, how to dress and how to present yourself. Great form of play.
And so a lot of your collection starts in that early era. So about how large would you say it is? And you know what? I got to do it. I got to put you on the spot. Because listen, I have like several hundred locomotives, but I know a lot of you are thinking, no, that's not very many. I know. So what would you say size-wise, and what eras and so forth do you cover?
Well, I think we counted all the dolls, maybe about 300, which is actually kind of pathetic compared to other Barbie collectors that I know. That's not even close to what most of my friends have in the Barbie world. But
what would you say the highest level collectors, about how many would you say that they might have?
Oh Lord, thousands. We're getting in the thousands of my friend. I hope she won't mind me mentioning her name, Leslie Greenberg, who in Potomac. She is very close to the world record of Barbies. There's a guy in Europe, I believe, who is ahead of her, but not by much. She has every Barbie that was ever made, almost, and it's a phenomenal collection. She is online too. You can look her up. Barbie Mom, I believe, on TikTok, and she's been featured on the local news several times too.
And so when you compare that to what we do, you think about that's actually about the same, because a large layout, you'll have, you could have several hundred locomotives, and then thousands of cars.
Right.
And you'll, store them in a lot of different places because you're probably not going to run them all at the same time, but that shows how our collecting style and what we do is all very similar.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what tips do you have for collectors? Because I know we always talk about how do we store our trains, keep everything lubricated, keep everything in operating condition, even some of the real nuances down to the foam that's used in the boxes to cushion, because that can end up being a problem for those of you, especially some of you brass collectors out there who have experienced this. What are some storage tips and presentation tips that you would say that you use for Barbie? Because I think we could learn a lot from that.
Well, the first thing I would encourage all collectors to do is to display your collection. Don't keep them hidden in boxes in the closet, because I know a lot of collectors tend to do that. And that's based on space, mostly because we don't have the space. But if you do have the space, please put your collection out there to enjoy. It's an investment and you want to be able to see it. You want other people to see it as well. So don't be afraid to display it. You just have to be smart about how you are going to put it out there. And I always suggest for people, or I really recommend, as many Barbie collectors do, to put them in a room where there's not a lot of light, and to keep the shades closed, get the thermal curtains, because you don't want the UV light damaging your collection. And that could be true of trains as well, because the materials are aging and they can denigrate very easily. So you don't want a lot of light to come into your rooms where you're displaying the Barbies or whatever your collection is. Also, display cabinets, glass, that have UV protection. That's always a good idea to invest in them to display your
And I'm actually going to take that advice. I have some trains that I display on the mantle, which are cool. It's great to look at them, but the big window lets all the sun in.
Right.
And I always worry about the paint, because some of them are the West Side E9s that we did a little video on a few months ago, factory painted. Yeah, it may not be perfectly realistic, everything's not 100%, but I don't want to wake up one year and see it's all been bleached.
Exactly.
Because yes, I could repaint it, but it's something to say this was done by West Side or Nakamura, whoever actually made those engines in the first place, and there's some historical quality to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other side of that is if you keep them in boxes, they're going to degrade as well, no matter how well packaged they are. I have heard horror stories from collectors about flooding, water damage in their homes, and then there's theft. They will have contractors who come into the house, and all of a sudden the boxes, yes, very sad stories of the boxes disappearing because they've had renovations, or those spaces, their storage spaces are open up to several people, and you never know who's honest and who's not. It's tempting for them to grab, so there you go. And that's a very sad situation too. And you want to keep an inventory of everything you have as well, maybe for insurance purposes too, if you do suffer some kind of a damage, flooding or...
And that's a great piece of advice, yeah. And it's also good so either what you don't need to buy again or you should buy again.
Right.
Because you can always kind of look back and say, oh yeah, I have that. I want more of that, or I don't need more of that.
I've done that before. Yeah. I've bought duplicates because I forget what I have. I think we're guilty of that in the collecting world. You have to have it out there so you can see it, or at least know that you have it.
I've got some train books here that are for sale, in part because I bought 2 of each, not realizing that I did, and I said, oh, that would be a great book. I should get something like that. Well, it turned out I'd lent one of them to my buddy, and he said, oh, here's your book back. I said, wait, I already have that. So but no, that is a good idea. Make a note, and that can also help you whether you're we're working with other people and whatnot. Oh, hey, I've got this. You're going to build a display. You're going to do something. You know what you got, so you can contribute.
Exactly.
So tell everybody where they can find you and how they get in touch with Delaware Dolls.
Delaware Dolls on Facebook, and that will list our upcoming shows, where we will be. We're also going to be at the Antique Show here in Chantilly at the Dulles Expo Center next month, September. I think it's September 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, 23rd, 24th, that weekend. And I will be bringing all of the dolls and some accessories. Also going to have some other dolls as well outside of Barbie. Some clone Barbies, also Dawn dolls. If you're of that era, you remember the small scale Dawn dolls from the Topper Toy Company. So I will be at that show as well. That's coming right up.
Okay, very cool. And there is, and I'm trying to remember what the name is, but Auto Train, and you remember Auto Train, the original Auto Train, Eugene Carrot Garfield, the red, purple, and white, long before Amtrak took it over. They had a doll that was for sale in their gift shop. Okay. And it was named, and I can't remember it, but I'm going to find it out. I'll probably figure it out after the show is over. But it was named for the daughter of Eugene Garfield.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been looking for one of these. In fact, let's see.
That's right. You told me that.
Auto Train Garfield. We're going to use the magic of Al Gore's internet, and let's see if we can find it while we are on here. But no, I can't remember it. But if anybody knows, leave a comment in the under the show. We'd love to see that, and we'd love to find one, because I think that would make a great mascot for this show. So we will be back later today with more content for you. We're going to do everything we can not to take a 4-month hiatus from you in the future, because we love our listeners too much. Now, we'll be back talking about October 1972 Trains magazine, and we're doing it because we want to show how much things have changed and how that's really set the stage for railroading in the present. So, what I want you to do, check out Delaware Dolls, check out their website, check them out on Instagram. Are you on TikTok yet?
Not yet.
Okay, we're not on TikTok either, so that's okay. Don't go over there. TikTok, yes, that's right. We call it TikTok here. And as always, stay sharp, stay strong, and stay free right here on the All Aboard podcast by All Things Trains.